Hello, dear students. Welcome back to Booster Classes. This is Singh, and today we shall be doing the comprehensive study of an extremely engaging short story from Vistas' book of Standard 12 CBSE. The title of this touching story is The Enemy, written by Pearl S. Burke, a well-known American writer and novelist. Hope you all are enjoying my classes. So, what are you waiting for, students? Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel for more all inclusive study materials. In this session, I'm going to give you the core of this short story in an extremely coherent and lucid manner so that you can apprehend with ease the setting of the story, its plot, the climax, and the theme. We shall also discuss the character traits of the main characters, as well as there will be a few important questions for your comprehension check at the end. Before moving on to the storyline, let me give you the overview of this story, which is repleted with conflicts. The story, The Enemy, is a heart-rending portrayal of the conflicts between heart and mind, emotions and reason, right and wrong, as well as justice and injustice. The story highlights how a Japanese doctor, who is also a citizen with a sense of national loyalty, is compelled by his professional ethics to save the life of an American prisoner of war, and thus rises above narrow prejudices of both nationalism and racism and emerged as a virtuous human being. He endangers his honor, safety, position, and family by sheltering a war prisoner of the enemy camp and saves his life. Thus, the story beautifully depicts that even the enemy's life can be saved without deviating from the right path. Well, now with the help of a story map, I shall make you comprehend the storyline of this engaging short story. We all know that every story has five important elements like setting, plot, climax, characters, and theme. Now, one by one, we shall discuss all these elements. So, first and foremost, let's take a look at the setting of this interesting story. Setting, my students, is actually the time and place a story takes place. And this particular story takes place at Sadao's and Hana's home on the coast of Japan. It's a misty evening, sometime during World War II, and Sadao's childhood was spent in Japan. He respected his father, who loved Japanese culture, tradition, and people. Sadao would accompany his father to the islands of the South Sea often, and his father considered those islands to be stepping stones for Japan's future. Sadao's education was his father's chief concern. He wanted him to excel in studies. So, at the age of 22, he was sent to America to learn surgery and medicine. Sadao, being an obedient and caring son, realized his father's dream by becoming not only a renowned surgeon but also an accomplished scientist. He even married Hana according to the rights of their land only after getting his father's approval because Sadao really respected his father's sentiment. Sadao actually met Hana by chance at Professor Harley's house while attending a small get-together which was organized by this kind professor for his foreign students. Proceeding further, we shall now comprehend the plot, which is nothing but the series of events that make up a story. And the first event of the plot of the story is the encounter with the American prisoner of war, that is the enemy. While enjoying the view of the sea from the veranda of their house, which was located on a spot of the Japanese coast, Dr. Sadao and his wife saw a wounded American soldier staggering and crawling out of the sea. The man fell down on his face and lay there motionless. He moaned with pain and was bleeding profusely. because he had been shot while escaping. Initially, they mistook him for a Japanese fisherman and rushed to help him. But on a closer look at the man, they found him wearing rags and had a battered cap that proclaimed him to be in the US Navy, and he was a prisoner of war. Even through his face, they came to know that he was a white man because he had yellow hair as well as yellow beard, indicating that he is nobody else but a white man, their enemy. As the story progresses, now we shall talk about the rising action, that is, the dilemma over here. Dr. Sadao faced the conflict between his moral duty as a doctor, which urged him to save the dying man, and his national duty, which required handing him over to the army of Japan. Dr. Sadao was confused what to do. He was afraid of being called a traitor. If he treated him, the doctor would be marked as a traitor for helping and giving shelter to a prisoner of war. And they could even arrest Dr. Sadao. Handing him over to the police, he was sure to be killed. So Dr. Sadao, being citizen with a sense of national loyalty, felt that the kindest thing that they could do was to put the man back into the sea, and thus there could be a remote possibilities for his survival. However, his compassionate and human nature stopped Dr. Sadao from doing so. Moreover, he could not do so because of his commitment to his medical profession. As a doctor, his prime duty was to save a life. He knew the man would die if not tended medically. So, the duty of a doctor overpowered all the narrow consideration, both of nationalism and racism over here. He respected the ethics of his profession and retained his professional loyalty by treating the wounded enemy soldier. Thus, despite mental conflict, he resolved to save the POW. Now, next we shall come to know about how Dr. Sadao and his wife, after all, took care of this prisoner of war. So let us see what they have done for this POW. On finding the man's pulse sinking, Dr. Sadao decided to operate the man at once. Hana, though initially reluctant, and when servants refused to help them, being a dutiful wife, was the man, even assisted Sadao during operation and nursed the enemy soldier back to health. She was asked to give anesthetic to the soldier and even to fetch towel that can be needed during the operation. His treatment was an ultimate test for Sadao's patience. He was going through mental conflict whether to treat his patient or comfort his wife. As a matter of fact, at the sight of blood, Hana became uncomfortable. She turned pale out of nervousness and even vomited. Sadao was unable to comfort his wife, so he became impatient and irritable with his patient. In his dream, the man moaned, but Sadao paid no heed to man's pain. Following his medical ethics, Sadao saved the man's life, but he refused to interact with his enemy, fearing intimate relation with POW. He wanted absolute professional relation with him. Dr. Sadao was concentrating hard on locating the bullet. Soon he felt the tip of his probing instrument strike against something hard near the kidney. He was filled with the purest pleasure at the success of his skill. Hana remembered the cruel nature of General Takima in the context of the sufferings and torture of the POW. Both of them took great care of the man, and POW was cured and healed. They tried to make him feel comfortable, and the man became confident for his safety at Dr. Sadao's place. He started trusting them. He was reluctant to leave doctor's home because he was sure that he would be killed or captured once he left Dr. Sadao's place, because it is an alien country for him, an enemy country, and the scar on his neck were a painful reminder of his torture by the Japanese. Moving on to the plot here, we shall know about the reactions of the servants. Dr. Sadao's servants, being superstitious, hypocritical, and disrespectful, felt disappointed and started opposing their master's decision of harboring and nursing an enemy. The servants have no sympathy for Tom, the enemy. When Hana asked Yumi, the governess, to wash the wounds of the patient, she refused, saying that she had never touched a white man and had a fierce look of resistance on her face. The cook said that Sadao was proud of his skill and was using it irresponsibly. The gardener, being superstitious, reasoned that the man was destined to die. He considered Dr. Sadao's work as an act of treachery and believed that Dr. Sadao would be punished by Japan. They all had a rigid sense of nationality, a narrow outlook, and did not understand that human consideration is supreme, and so hated the presence of POW. They all feared that the presence of POW would surely endanger their lives and freedom. Thus, they withdrew their help, support, and affiliation from Sadao's family. Let's now find out what happened after a week the POW was operated on. Here, students, we have come to the turning point of the story. I mean the climax. On the seventh day, two things happened. In the morning, the servants left with their belongings. As they had been working there for many years, they were crying while they were leaving. But Hana remained calm and maintained her grace as the lady of the house. The second thing that happened that day was a messenger came in an official uniform and from the old general. Hana got scared as she assumed that the servants must have informed police about their harboring an enemy soldier, and the messenger had definitely come to arrest Sadao. Hana almost fainted with fright, but messenger came to inform Sadao that the ailing general could require operation any moment. The general did not trust any other doctor. Therefore, Dr. Sadao was indispensable to him, and this is the reason why he was not sent abroad with the troops by the general, who was very selfish and self-centered. Dr. Sadao was also not sent abroad with the troops because he was perfecting a discovery which would render wounds entirely clean. Now, why did, after all, Dr. Sadao confide in the general, and why did the general forget to keep his promise? Let's find out. As a true Japanese and compelled by the mounting pressure, the fear of his arrest, and for Hana's sake, it was Sadao's responsibility to alleviate Hana's anxiety. Sadao confided in the general and told the whole episode to him so that he could get rid of the patient. Dr. Sadao expected a violent reaction, but fortunately things took an unexpected turn which went in Dr. Sadao's favor. The general said that he understood Sadao's outlook and mindset, so he did not take any harsh action against Dr. Sadao. instead wanted to protect him because Dr. Sadao's skill at operating on the prisoner with success made the general believe more firmly that Dr. Sadao was really indispensable to him. He never trusted other surgeons. He advised Sadao to combine two foreign elements, that is, Germans' ruthlessness and Americans' sentimentality in his dealings as well as nature, so that Sadao could be harsh to turn the POW to the Japanese, and at the same time he could be emotional and not murder general during operation. According to the general, the happening of the injured man reaching Sadao's doorstep was a sheer bad luck. He could have taken harsh action against the soldier, but he could not. Now he could not take. And the best solution, according to him, would be to kill the man in his sleep secretly. The general did not want the matter to come out in public, so he devised a plan to get the American soldier killed by professional killers. And these professional killers would also dispose his body. He just wanted the door of the patient's room to be kept open. Sadao agreed to the idea because it seemed very natural. But being selfish, the general overlooked the matter and forgot to keep his promise. He felt sorry that he had been careless and justified himself that it was not lack of patriotism or ignorance of his duty. It was just because of his poor health. The general now sought support from Dr. Sadao. If Sadao was found out, the general could not escape too. Sadao realized this very well, that the general was under his control now, so he was relieved from the fear of being arrested. Finally, students, now we have come to the following action of the plot, that is the Tom's escape and Sadao's reflection. Let us see what happened. Though Sadao readily agreed with the general's secret plan, but his conscience pricked him, and his heart reproached him for betraying his guest, whom he had treated. So he remained perturbed and sleepless on account of fear of the professional killers coming to his house and killing the enemy. Subconsciously, he wished the patient, should survive. It was also becoming too dangerous to let the POW remain at his house. He finally realized the essential worth of human life and universal brotherhood. He had stayed in America for a long time and thus knows and understands that they are humans equal to them. So he decided to save the soldier's life by helping him in escaping, only after when he did not get any help from the general. So he arranged a boat, his personal boat, in which he put the food, water, extra clothing, and also gave him his flashlight to signal him at the time of distress. Instructed him well about the unforeseen dangers and directed him to row to an uninhabited island nearby. He advised, not only this, he advised the POW to wait for a Korean fishing boat. The prisoner of war was successful in his escape only because of the right guidance and the help from Dr. Sadao. Thus, Dr. Sadao rose above narrow prejudices and acted in a true humanitarian way. Now, let us see what, after all, Sadao reflected. Sadao recalled his time spent in America, the people he met, the dull professor, Professor Harley, his wife, who was very silly and talkative, whom he literally disliked, but yet she was kind to him. The fat, untidy landlady whom he was thankful to only because she had taken good care of him when he was suffering from influenza. He also recalled his professor of anatomy and all the Americans with all their prejudices. And he wondered why he could not kill Tom, the American prisoner of war, when he had hatred for Americans. Humanity actually overpowered his feeling, his personal prejudices. Dr. Sadao's reward was the escape of the enemy, and Dr. Sadao had a peaceful sleep now. He was rewarded, definitely was rewarded for his goodness. Life for Sadao's family was normal as usual now. He felt happy and relieved as his plan worked and luck was on his side. He overcame his personal prejudices and emerged as a virtuous human being. Now, with this, students, we have almost covered three important elements of the story, that is, the setting, the plot, and the climax. Let's now take a look at the main characters who we are already introduced to. Very precisely, we will discuss. So the protagonist over here, Dr. Sadao, is a competent and committed doctor. He is an efficient scientist also. Dr. Sadao is committed to his professional duty and is trained to save lives. Sadao does not lack national loyalty as well. He is very kind, generous, and full of human consideration. Dr. Sadao is also a loving, caring, and devoted husband. Yes, he is also a very obedient son. And talking about Hannah, we can say that Hannah, who is Dr. Sadao's wife, is a loving and sincere person. She is devoted to her husband and loves her children. She is also, like Dr. Sadao, full of human consideration. She is a good and dignified housewife. All these reveals that her kind and generous nature. And regarding General, we know that he was ruthless, selfish, careless. He forget to keep his promise, and Sadao's father was definitely a concerned father. He was really worried about his education. He was conservative and orthodox, but definitely he was also a true Japanese. Here is the conclusion of this heart-rending story. The ending, that is, the doctor's final solution to the problem, was a perfect one, as well as the best possible one in the given circumstances. Because Dr. Sadao did a courageous and ideal service not only to his profession but also to humanity and his nation by saving the life of a helpless American, and at the same time he discharged his duty towards his nation by informing the general about the enemy. However, when he did not get any help from the general, he noticed that the man was to be killed not for the benefit of the country but only to save his and general's life. His compassionate heart realized the essential worth of human life and universal brotherhood. He then went out of his way to help the enemy soldier flee to safety. By this noble act, he showed that human considerations should overpower narrow prejudices. The Enemy is an anti-war story and conveys a great lesson in humanism. The author condemns racial discrimination and hails that humanity is the essence of our existence. The central message of the story is to rise above the issues of race, caste, nationality, and to act upon human considerations. Because humanity is that virtue which unites the entire human race as one, whereas patriotism is segmented. It underlines the message that doctors have no nationality. They must make all possible efforts to save life. Certainly, the title of this short story, The Enemy, is a befitting and apt one, as the story revolves around an American prisoner of war whose life is saved by a Japanese doctor. All the points justify the title. The title is quite suggestive because the author wants to suggest that the real enemy is not the white man but narrow considerations, that is, nationalism and racism. Thus, this story beautifully depicts that even the enemy's life can be saved without deviating from the right path. Here are a few important questions from the chapter for your comprehension check. Taking help from the explanation which I have just given to you, I would like you all to solve these questions and deepen your understanding. Keep watching to get the detailed analysis of other chapters too. Thank you for watching.